Hello, hello, hello. Glad to have everyone with us. Autumn is officially here, so I hope some people are adjusting to the colder weather. So today we'll be talking about what's new for Bernafon Encanta and the updates that we have for the technology, the connectivity, and of course, don't forget the software. So for the 51 or 52 people who registered for this webinar, around half of you are actually already fitting Encanta since it was released earlier this year. And I'm really happy to hear that. So congratulations to our distributors from Argentina, Austria, Azerbaijan, Cyprus, Estonia, Greece, Mexico, Norway, Peru, Romania, UAE, and of course, don't forget Ukraine. So good job, guys. Keep it up. Christina and I will be here with you for the next hour or so. So there she is. So welcome. You want to say something, Christina?
Welcome, everybody. So we are really excited that the expansion of Encanta is going on to share the news with you today.
All right, super. Thank you, Christina. So earlier this year, we have proudly introduced Encanta, which is better than anything we have produced so far from Bernafon because of its improved machine learning algorithm and also the new smart sensor. So now we will revisit what makes Encanta so special and remind you of the key highlights in this hearing aid. So I will talk about the new travel charger for Encanta. It is also called Charger Plus. And since I've been asked about rechargeability, I got a few questions the past few months regarding what is the best practice when it comes to taking care of the rechargeable hearing aids, including Viron Alpha, Alpha XT, and now Encanta. I will also share with you the important things you need to know on best practices and how to take care of that lithium-ion battery inside these devices. And after that, Christina will take over with the updates in the OasisNXT software. And also, don't forget connectivity, including a reminder of all the resources available to you that we've released this year so far. And then we have the Q&A in the end for whatever questions you may have. So type it in the chat if you have any questions. We'll answer them all in the end. And finally, we have the second to the last quiz for the year. So with Bernafon Encanta, we really want to provide continued innovation to provide an even better hearing experience. And we did that, but by making our product better in terms of the hardware, the technology, and even our approach in explaining each technology level to the client. Because unlike the older previous Bernafon hearing aid families with Encanta, we really try to offer 4 just right solutions to make it even easier for you to explain and position each technology level according to the needs of your client. So when you're in the clinic, after doing the hearing test, sometimes it's really tricky for you to know where do you start? How do you recommend the right hearing aid? Which is why we decided to approach it different this time with Encanta. So there are actually 2 things that we looked at. First, we looked at the environment that is most relevant for the client, from very low noise, as you can see here, all the way to noisy, and then very noisy. And then the second thing that we looked at is the conversation type that they are having, from one-to-one conversations or the more social group conversations. So we look at their lifestyle. Is it calmer, or it's very active or very social? And if we look at the first example with Bernafon Encanta 100, it is designed to be most suitable for people who spend the majority of their time in low noise environment and in one-to-one conversations. And as you go and move further to the right, towards Bernafon Encanta 400, You can see that the noisier the environment and the more social and active your client is, the higher the recommended technology level is to support speech understanding in whatever situation. So below, you will see the key features that support our recommendations. The good news is that all 4 Encanta family members have exceptional sound quality that Bernafon is always known for. So whenever I ask my colleagues or my friends who sell Bernafon, 8 out of 10 often says that sound quality is one of the best things with Bernafon, which I hope all of you guys agree. And another thing which is available for all technology levels is the smart noise reduction. So as you can see here, we have it in all levels. And the good thing with the smart noise reduction compared to Alpha and Alpha XT is that the machine learning 2.0 in Encanta has been better trained to be more accurate in identifying the noise from the speech, which improves noise reduction overall while still preserving the sound quality at the same time. So that means that not only do we provide up to 6, 8, 10, and 12 dB of noise reduction, but we do so in a way that is more accurate without affecting the speech clarity and the listening comfort to make everything sound as good and as clear as possible. And then from Encanta 200 onwards, we have smart directionality, which continuously adapts from a more omnidirectional and quieter environments to a more directional polar pattern in noisier environments to increase speech understanding and noise. So here you can see 60% effect in Encanta 200, which basically means that the attenuation is around 60% in the direction of the noise source. And the further you go towards the right part, you will see that Encanta 400 can provide the maximum noise cancellation towards the direction of the noise source with 100% effect. Now, the biggest difference that Encanta has to the previous technologies is that we now have the smart sensor technology with Encanta 300 and also 400. And that makes such a big difference in providing an even better noise management overall. Finally, we have the expanded bandwidth with Encanta 400 for that extra sound quality to satisfy even the most demanding of customers. So let's review how smart sensor technology works, because I get a few questions here and there about how it works, how it doesn't work, but let's try to clarify that for those who are not so familiar. So the smart sensor is a motion sensor that automatically adjusts the level of smart directionality and smart noise reduction based on the head and body movements of the user. So in a group conversation, the smart sensor seamlessly adjusts the noise management depending on whether there is one-to-one or group conversations. So for example, if the head is still or nodding, that generally means that they are having a one-to-one conversation and they are trying to focus on one person. So the smart sensor detects this, sends this information to Encanta's smart noise management, and automatically increases the smart directionality and also the smart noise reduction to provide even greater focus. And this greater noise reduction and increased speech intelligibility will also allow them to really hone in on that conversation with this one person. What if the person then starts moving their head and then to the right, and then back again to the left and to the right? That generally means that they want to hear more than one person, right? So the smart sensor detects this, then starts decreasing smart directionality and smart noise reduction around one level lower in order to hear more than one person in a group conversation with a better 360-degree awareness. The smart sensor also detects whether the person is, of course, on the go. So if they are walking or standing still, it also tries to detect this kind of movement. So if the person starts walking in a noisy environment, it is very important to know what's happening around them, right? Which is why the smart sensor will then decrease smart directionality and smart noise reduction to help the person hear more sounds in the environment. And once they stop walking, then the smart sensor activates more directionality and noise reduction for more listening comfort. Now, some people have asked me, why would you want to decrease smart directionality or smart noise reduction? Won't it be too noisy? And the answer to that is that, of course, there will still be noise management, but more or less depending and constantly adjusting depending on the input from the smart sensor and also whether the environment is quiet or noisy, because the smart sensor is much more active in a noisy environment. So it activates only when it's needed and should not compromise the sound in any way. And another question that I got is whether you will hear a sound difference when the settings are changing, whether they're decreasing or increasing. And the answer is no. The changes in the noise management should be very gradual, very seamless, and barely audible to the hearing aid user. So this shouldn't be a thing because it's very subtle, it's very gradual. Okay, so let's take a look at how the smart sensor actually makes a difference in managing noise. So in this situation, we have a multi-speaker conversation with three talkers or three people talking in a noise environment. So on the vertical axis, we measure the improvement in speech intelligibility from 0 to 20%. And on the horizontal axis, you will then see the different Encantas being compared to each other. So first, let's talk about Encanta 200, which does not have the smart sensor technology. Thanks to smart noise management, Encanta 200 is able to provide an 8% improvement in speech intelligibility. But if we go higher with Encanta 300, which adds the smart sensor to the smart noise management, the speech intelligibility improves by almost double with 15% and up to 19% with Encanta 400. So the conclusion is that the smart sensor provides approximately 100% improvement in speech intelligibility in a multi-speaker conversation and noise test. And that is one real benefit you should remember when you are talking about the smart sensor with your client. As you know, the new Encanta hearing aids come in a new hardware that is designed to be comfortable, secure, and even more discreet than our previous products. For now, Encanta is only available in the rechargeable miniRITE style. And the new styles, including the BTEs and the IICs, they will be available sometime in the future, so don't worry, it's coming. So Encanta has a new smart speaker, an even brighter and clearer LED. It has one single push button. It has fast charging battery and also a longer battery life compared to the previous rechargeable model. It has robust and durable nano-coating of all important components inside and out with an IP68 rating. It has a very cool tap control to answer and end phone calls, available to all Encantas except for Encanta 100. And finally, it is designed to be worn comfortably and securely in the ear. I'm pretty confident it's one of the best looking hearing aids out there, so you should really take advantage of this feature with the new Encantas. Of course, Encanta also comes in 8 attractive colors, with the same color for the top and the base shell. And this really gives a cool premium look compared to the previous Bernafon hearing aids, which had different color combinations before. Since the new smart miniFIT Detect speaker is one of our biggest changes with Encanta, I'll talk a bit more about it, okay? So basically, we designed these new speakers to improve the fitting experience to provide better first fits for you and also for your client. With the new speakers, there are fewer mistakes while fitting because the Oasis software will automatically detect the fitting level, the length, the side to ensure that the correct speaker is actually attached. And the new miniFIT Detect speakers also offer more precision in terms of sound based on the calibration data within plus minus 1 dB target gain across all 24 frequency bands, which really help secure a more precise fit and a more precise sound. And here are some more things you should know about the miniFIT Detect speakers. First, the new 8-pin connector. This is the part that you see there. So the 8-pin connector actually looks like a very small USB stick, and this allows the speaker to store information, including the serial number of the speaker, the fitting level, the length, the side, but it also stores the calibration data, which allows the Encanta to adjust the gain based on this data to compensate for any deviations in the output of the speakers. Remember that you need to have the miniFIT Detect speakers attached if you want to connect your Encantas to OasisNXT software. So this is something that you will need to get used to. Always have the speakers attached to Encanta if you want to connect to OasisNXT. The fitting level 60 and 100 receivers have higher maximum output or MPO than their predecessors, which brings fitting flexibility and possibility for a better target match. And having said that, it doesn't mean that you can use a 60 speaker to replace an 85 speaker since they are still fundamentally different. A higher MPO basically just means that they give more headroom to improve the overall sound quality, and it's not necessarily a replacement for other fitting levels. The new receiver also includes an error mode, which is a safety function. So if you put the wrong fitting level or the wrong side by mistake on another Encanta, then the Encanta hearing aid will not give any sound, and you will also see that the LED will start giving long orange blinks with a total of 16 orange blinks. So that tells you there's something wrong with the speaker attached. Of course, the new miniFIT Detect speakers are only compatible with Encanta hearing aids. So please don't mix the older miniFIT speakers and the new miniFIT Detect, okay? And even though we have a new speakers, I'm very happy to tell you guys that we still use the same miniFIT earpieces, ranging from the smaller standard domes made of silicon. We also have the grip tip, which is made of this really soft rubber material. And we have the customized light tip and micro mode, which could be made of the softer Audotherm material, or we also have them available in the harder acrylic on the right. And speaking of molds, let's do just a quick review of what each is suitable for. So let's start with the light tip. As you can see, the light tip is hollowed out inside, and it's more similar to domes because it feels less full. And in terms of the fitting range, it is recommended for mild to moderate hearing loss. A micromold is designed to fit deeper into the ear canal for this really good cosmetic appeal. It is more solid inside than the light tip, and there's still some space around the speaker to allow you to change it in the clinic. And the micromold, ideally, is for those with mild to severe losses. Yeah. And finally, we have the new earpiece we call the Microshell Detect, which goes with the new miniFIT Detect speakers. So how does the Microshell Detect compare to the other custom earpieces? The Microshell is solid with a fully embedded speaker that could be 60, 85, 100, or 105, and also a fully embedded wire. So the speaker and the wire cannot be changed in the clinic, and you need to send it in if you want to change the speaker. The ideal fitting range, it's recommended for mild to profound hearing losses, which is why it's also compatible with the speaker 105. And please take note that in both light tip and also the micromold, there is actually space around the receiver so you can still change the speaker in the clinic. But the space may also allow dirt and earwax to go in. Of course, this is not the case for Microshell Detect because the speaker and the wire is fully embedded in the mold. So in that sense, it also gives a cleaning advantage because it's more closed. For those who are not aware, we also have this new tool for removing and putting the new miniFIT Detect speakers in a light tip or a micromold. And this is because the new miniFIT Detect speakers actually have a slightly different design. Here is an instructional video explaining how to use this mounting tool that you see on your upper right. There you go. So now let's talk about the chargers for Encanta, including the new Charger Plus for on-the-go charging. Let's revisit these new chargers, okay? So overall, these new chargers, they charge faster, more efficiently, they're generally smaller compared to the older chargers, and overall it just makes life easier for you in the clinic. So you get a full day of power in just 1 hour. That's very catchy. So if you forget, oh, how long do I need to charge it? An hour for a full day of power. But you can also charge it for 15 minutes and it already gives you 4 extra hours of hearing aid usage. So comparing the sizes, I have some here right now. The new chargers are much more compact. So this is the new charger, just putting them side by side compared to the previous desk charger. So just to show you what it looks like, that's the biggest difference. And also the Encanta chargers. One big difference is that they also have advanced contact charging, which means a faster and more reliable charging experience for your clients. Finally, one big difference is you can start fitting the Encantas even if they're in the charger, which is really useful if you have clients who come into the appointment with a low battery and you need to fit the hearing aids immediately, or you need to do the firmware update. Then you can also fit them in the charger for emergencies. Now let me tell you a few things about this new Charger Plus. As you saw earlier, well, these are the desk chargers, but you can see in the picture that they're even smaller than the previous Charger Plus, and this really makes it more portable and convenient for on-the-go charging. And since you can charge your Encantas 3 times with a 0% battery, it really provides more than a full day's battery life without having a power outlet nearby all the time. And it also keeps your hearing aids powered and protected wherever you go because it's also a case. There is an earpiece cavity, which is carefully shaped to accommodate many different kinds of earpieces and also to keep your Encantas in so it's not moving around all the time while it's inside the charger. And there's also colored red and blue markings for the left and right side. And there's a gray outline around the hole where the charger is supposed to sit. So if you can look at that, it makes it easier for the client to know where to put the hearing aid and that they place the hearing aid correctly. There are also magnets inside the charging ports, which has a high magnetic attraction to make sure that the hearing aids are fully inserted. And this also lets the client know, oh, I put it correctly. And finally, when you open or close the lid, you feel this magnetic force that gives a really good premium and a good feeling, confirming that you have closed the lid correctly. It's the same as when you have this AirPods, when you open the lid and close it, it's the same feeling that you get with the new Charger Plus. So what makes the new Encanta rechargeable device different? Well, the first thing is that it offers faster charging. Whereas previously it actually took around 3 hours, now your clients can get the full benefit of a full charge in only 2 hours. And if you want to get around 16 hours, which is usually enough for the average client, you actually only need 1 hour. Since we have the lithium-ion battery soldered directly on the Encanta hearing aid, we can actually afford to put the larger size 13 battery instead of the 312 Plus that we had before for Alpha and Alpha XT. And this allows up to 24 hours of battery usage. I would still advise, though, that you be careful with over-promising this to your clients because the operating time of the rechargeable battery in Encanta still depends on the use pattern. What features are active? What's the actual hearing loss? What's the speaker that is used? What's the sound environment that the client is in? What's the age of the battery? And do they always stream? So depending on all of this 24 hours, you cannot promise such a thing. So maybe it would be 22 hours or 20 hours, but just tell your clients that it's designed to be used for a full day, which is around, I would say, 16 to 20 hours in case they ask you. Finally, one of the biggest difference in Encanta hearing aids is that these new rechargeable batteries are designed to last for 5 years, which should roughly cover the lifespan of the hearing aids. That means that the battery should still be healthy even after 4 to 5 years of everyday use. And that is possible because of this new charging technology that we have in Encanta. And the reason why there are so many improvements in this rechargeability is the fact that we actually changed our approach from inductive charging to contact charging. And this allows more consistent battery performance across the lifetime of the hearing aid. Now, I'll explain why we did this change. So with rechargeable batteries, battery capacity will drop with time, over time, right? So that means that the user or the client may start hearing the battery low warning at the end of the day after using the hearing aid for a few years. So in order to combat this, Bernafon has implemented a constant capacity charging technology. We have a patent on this, but it's still pending. But this is something which we made only for our hearing aids. So this constant capacity charging technology is designed to maximize the battery life of Encanta. And this technique reserves part of the battery's initial capacity to ensure that it can provide more stable performance throughout the lifetime of the hearing aid, which we expect to be around 5 years. So the benefit of this is that the user or the client can expect to have more consistent battery performance even after 4 to 5 years, which helps offset some unavoidable battery degradation that will inevitably occur with time. So the difference between traditional charging and constant capacity charging is shown in this chart. So on the vertical axis, you have the daily hours of the battery life from 0 to 30 hours. And on the horizontal axis, you will have the years on how long the battery will last from 0 to 7 years. So traditional charging offers longer battery life at first. But you can see that the capacity drops significantly in a relatively short amount of time, around 3 to 4 years, that your client may start hearing the low battery warning before the end of the day, and over time may actually need to have the battery replaced to have a full day of use. With constant capacity charging, the initial capacity is actually saved in order to get a longer operational life. So this means that the battery is expected to last throughout the lifetime of the hearing aids without your client experiencing any significant drops or need for battery replacement. Of course, before we introduced contact charging, we made sure to do extensive battery testing with different usage patterns to make sure that it works. We did millions of hours of accumulated test time with more than 600 batteries. And we also tested this technology across the full operating temperature range, from very warm to very cold, for the equivalent of up to 5 years of daily use. Now, I've introduced the new battery and charging features of Encanta, but I know that most of you are still selling Alpha and Alpha XT rechargeable devices. So here are practical things you need to know when dealing with these rechargeable hearing aids from Bernafon. Now here is an overview of the current available chargers for the rechargeable Bernafon hearing aids. So on the first line, you see that Bernafon Encanta has the brand new desk and travel charger, while for Alpha and also Alpha XT, we have the desk and travel charger for the miniRITE and also the mini BTE, of course. And we have the miniRITE, the miniRITE desk and the miniRITE travel charger for the Bernafon Cross. So the following tips that I will give you in the next slides apply for all of these rechargeable hearing aids and chargers, okay? Now let's talk about the first thing you need to know. So when you're traveling and you're bringing the Charger Plus, whether it's the old one or the new version, make sure you bring it in your carry-on luggage in the aircraft cabin. So it cannot be packed in your check-in luggage. Make sure you don't leave it there. Otherwise, they might ask you to open your whole check-in luggage, and it's just not a nice thing in the airport. Because the lithium-ion battery inside the Charger Plus is actually considered dangerous goods, which can leak or it can explode during the flight. So that's also the reason why laptops and tablets are not allowed to be checked in, because of this lithium-ion battery. And of course, at the end of the day, it's still the responsibility of your client to follow the airline rules and to check accordingly, because each airline might have different rules and regulations. When it comes to long-term storage recommendations for your client, in general, you should instruct them to keep their hearing aids in the charger whenever they're not using it. However, there may be instances where your client asks you, how do I store my rechargeable hearing aids for an even longer period? Let's say for months and months and months. For instance, maybe they're planning to travel for an extended period and they've decided to use their older hearing aids because it has its disposable batteries, or maybe they had an accident and they cannot use the hearing aids. So, if that's the case, what you can do is you can ask your client to fully charge the hearing aid to 100%, and then they can turn it off by pressing the hearing aid button. They can keep it out of the charger and then make an appointment or a reminder on their calendar that after 6 months, they should recharge the hearing aids. That's all, okay? Now, this is a question I've been hearing a lot from you guys. How do we keep the lithium-ion battery healthy whenever we're not fitting it or we haven't sold the hearing aids yet? So once you receive the rechargeable miniRITE device, the battery capacity could be anywhere between 20 to 40%, more or less, depending on the transportation and the storage time. The rechargeable styles are, by default, in battery protection mode once you receive them from the warehouse. This ensures that there is still enough battery even after 12 months of inactive use from the production date. The rechargeable hearing aids actually have a best before date printed on the packaging label 12 months after production. So make sure to check and make sure that the hearing aids with the earlier expiration dates are fitted first. So whatever will first expire should be first out, and you should follow this principle. It's the same as food. Otherwise, let's look at the next ones. So for best practice, we recommend that you charge the hearing aids fully the moment you receive them to ensure that your client actually benefits from the experience of a full day of battery from the time that you fit the hearing aid. Once they are fully charged and ready to be stored in your clinic, make sure to activate the battery protection mode through the OasisNXT software. Then you can return the device back to their package. Of course, you don't have to activate the battery protection mode all the time, but if you don't really expect to use the rechargeable device more than 2 weeks, then generally we really recommend that you put it into battery protection mode to protect the battery. And I can imagine that with so many rechargeable hearing aids in your clinic, it's really hard to keep track. So it's better to do it just in case. If the fully charged hearing aids will be stored more than 6 months, make sure to check. So same as your client, put a reminder and recharge it again after 6 months to make sure that the battery doesn't die. And if it's still 100%, perfect. But if it's not, and that will be the case, the more years pass by, then you are at the risk of actually killing the battery. So just follow best practices so it's easier for you long term. And for those who are not really used to activating this battery protection mode, I really encourage that you start doing it. It's already available for Alpha and Alpha XT, and you can activate this again to keep the battery healthier for longer. Of course, as you know, this mode is where the rechargeable battery really powers down to the very minimum while it's not actively used. In this way, the rechargeable battery is prevented from discharging below the limit from where it can still wake up. So in short, the battery is not dead and you can still revive it if you activate this battery protection mode. You can activate this mode for the miniRITE with OasisNXT. So the hearing aids should also be put into this mode before you ship it for repair. So that's another scenario where you should activate this mode. So you should follow the steps to enable and activate this mode. First, connect the hearing aids to OasisNXT using NoaLink Wireless, and then go to Tools, click Set to Battery Protection Mode, and after you click Save, there will be a pop-up window that you see in this slide, and the hearing aids will then automatically disconnect from the software, and you can leave it as is. The battery protection mode is on. So replacing the batteries depends also on the style and the type of charging that the hearing aid uses. So for the miniRITE TR batteries with inductive charging, the battery can be replaced in the clinic by you, the hearing care professional. So as you can see in this picture, the battery door can be opened using this tool. And then you may want to make sure that the client is aware that if or when they hear the battery low warning all the time, even when the day is not finished, then it is recommended that they come to your clinic for a battery health check. Also, please note that the mini BTE TR hearing aids, which also use inductive charging, they cannot be replaced in the clinic. And the reason is because the battery of the mini BTE TR is fully encapsulated in the hardware, so you still need to send this to the lab and you cannot change it yourself. Now, for the newer miniRITE Encanta hearing aids that uses contact charging, the battery normally does not need to be replaced for around 5 years. That's our expectation, which could be less or more depending on how it's used. But if there is something wrong, then you will actually need to send it to the lab. It cannot be changed in the clinic. And the reason is because the battery of the Encanta is fully integrated into the internal hardware of the hearing aid. So more specifically, the transfer of current from the battery to the circuit occurs through this cable tape, which is already soldered inside. So it's definitely more complex. You don't want to mess with it and just send it to the technician who knows how to change the battery once it's needed. Now, to end this section, let's look at some of the difference between the two types of charging, contact versus inductive, and what's important to remember. So on the left, you can see that with contact charging, that is the newer version of charging that we use, and it uses this constant capacity charging technique to reserve the initial battery capacity so that it can then provide a stable battery performance throughout the lifetime of the hearing aid. And of course, this applies for Encanta. The Encanta has a size 13 lithium-ion battery, and it is fully integrated into the instrument, which is why you cannot replace it in the clinic, as I mentioned before. And we expect it to last around 5 years because it's just overall much more reliable with this new technology. The overall benefit of using contact charging is that it can provide faster charging time and, in general, the battery, the size 13 battery, will also have a longer battery life every day and in 4 or 5 years. And then on the right, you will see inductive charging. And for those who are not familiar with how this technology works, they use transmitting coils. So there's a transmitting coil in the hearing aid, and there's also a receiving coil, transmitting coil in the charger and receiving coils in the hearing aid. So when you put the hearing aid in the charger, the hearing aid's coil or receiving coil is positioned very close to the charger's transmitting coil. And this allows an electromagnetic field between them and allows electric energy to be transferred from the charger to the hearing aid. So this technology is used for Alpha XT, Alpha, Viron, and the Cross instrument. They use a 312 plus lithium-ion battery. And the good news is you can replace the 312 plus battery in the clinic yourself, except for the mini BTE style, okay? The bad news is that it is optimally full battery for around 2 years. So that is one of the bigger downsides with this older technology, because the battery will slowly degrade over time. And yeah, we cannot promise like a full day use after 2-3 years. So that ends my part. Now I would like to hand it over to Christina. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Thank you very much, Marielle. So I'm happy now from my side to guide you through a bit more drier area. I mean, Marielle's area was so lively because there are so many exciting new things still to repeat about Encanta, and but we also need a tool to work with Encanta, so we also need OasisNXT. So now I will show you what we actually have integrated since the last version of the software, also to make your fitting in the clinic much easier and much more enjoyable. So there are a few new points. First of all, we will talk about a faster feedback manager. Actually, we have achieved to run a feedback test now in a bit shorter time, which means less exposure to the white noise, which is much more comfortable also for the hearing aid user. Then for those of you who do REM measurement, especially who are using the REM-Fit protocol, you have now easier access to select the protocol you would like to use for your REM-Fit sessions. Then for those of you who do remote fitting, actually, now you do have the possibility for more privacy. So it means you can blur the background on your site, so in your clinic, to have more privacy. And then it's also an update of the call controls. Now for the call controls in the end session screen, you will find some more information, which are also very, very helpful. And addition to this, we will also talk what you can do in case the hearing instrument gets stuck during the fitting, what you can do to reboot the instrument and to disconnect it again from the software. And also, yes, interesting, it's now possible to disabilitate the audible indicators for the service check mode. This is also a point which we are going to discuss in a moment. We have always had great feedback management. I'm sure one of our feedback management is the best which we actually have in the industry. It really prevents the client from suffering feedback and preserving the speech intelligibility. Now, previously, when we have done the feedback measurement, In OasisNXT, this would take approximately 3 to 4 seconds before the night noise actually started. I mean, it lasted a moment until the customer could actually hear the noise. This was because the fitting software and the hearing aid had to communicate back and forth to ensure that the fitting software had the necessary information to do the calculations required and begin the test. So the speed of this communication was also depending on several factors, such as the hardware in your clinic, the speed of the computer, and also an important factor was the strength of the connection between the hearing aid and the fitting software. So all these factors could actually result in the delay of the emission of this white noise. Now, the feedback manager is embedded directly in the Encanta hearing aid. Mean the fitting software simply asks the hearing aid to perform the feedback test, and the measurement is sent back to the fitting software after it has been completed. This new process can significantly reduce the delay in the emission of the white noise of 22%. So, which means now the client, he will hear the noise faster and the sound of the feedback manager will be emitted straight away. So this is certainly a great achievement, which we have reached now with OasisNXT 24.2. In order to do this faster feedback manager for Encanta, you would need to do the latest firmware update, which is the version 1.10 or later. You must be aware that this feedback manager is not possible, or this new process is not possible when doing for remote fitting. So we know that feedback tests are not available when we do remote fittings, when your client is not available in your clinic. For those of you who do REM fitting, I know some do, some don't, but I think also in future REM fitting will be more popular because we have a more precise result of the fitting and actually we really know what we are doing. So now great for those of you who already do remote fitting, you will be able to find in the REM, in the fitting menu, in the REM now, when selecting the measurement protocol, you will see you can immediately change between insertion gain or speech mapping, depending on the protocol you are using. Previously, you had to go back to the setup of the menu, and now this is very, very conveniently accessible. In addition, you will also find some information, explanation, what it actually means, what the insertion gain measurement does, and what the speech mapping measurement does. If you hover with the mouse upon the controls about the processes, then this will appear. Now, remote fitting has been used a lot, and we also are aware that the remote fitting we have in OasisNXT is a very, very secure and safe remote fitting, and it has been actually used worldwide. So people, they like to be fitted at home if they cannot come to visit your clinic. But yes, sometimes maybe the hearing care professional would like to have a bit more privacy. Maybe he does not want that the client sees what all happens in the background. And exactly for this reason, it is now possible to blur the background in the remote fitting session. There are two possibilities when to do this. Either you can do it before you start the remote fitting session. As soon as you have activated remote fitting and the window of remote fitting pops up, You can confirm the camera, and then here you see this new control blur background. So before starting the fitting session, it's possible with this control to blur or unblur the background in your clinic. In case you forgot to do this, and you would like to do it while you are actually also already fitting the hearing instrument, then this is also possible. You see here if the picture of the remote fitting pops up. Now you are already connected to your client. The hearing instruments are already detected. The picture of your client pops up. You are communicating with him, and yet still you have this option, blur, this new control, where you can also blur or unblur the background in your clinic. In the end session call control menu, now you will find more information regarding the time the user needs to hold down the button for different actions. And in addition, more information is also provided regarding compatibility of the tap control with the mobile devices. If you hover with the mouse over the slider of the tap control, then this message will pop up and it will indicate that you should refer to the compatibility overview on the Bernafon website to really find out if this phone can offer the tap control option. We do have a service check mode in our hearing instruments. The service check mode actually is a beep which always appears when the hearing aid user starts up the instrument, and it is basically an alert that something with the microphone or might be wrong. It's actually a great alert, and it can advise the hearing aid user that he should go and see the clinic. But if the hearing aid user, maybe he cannot go to the clinic immediately, then every time when he starts up the hearing instruments, he will hear the beep. So the wish has appeared that the hearing care professional can deactivate the audible indicator, while the visual indicator will still be available. So visually, it will still indicate the hearing aid user that he should go and see the clinic, but the beep will not be audible any longer. And you can deactivate the service check mode now in the end session indicators, audible indicators, and here we do see service check mode. So we can toggle it on or off depending on your needs or your preferences. Now, it may happen in some rare cases that during a fitting session, the hearing aid may lose Bluetooth connection to the fitting software. Whenever we work with Bluetooth, things like this can happen because there may be a disruption in the office or in the place where you are, and the Bluetooth connection can be cut. With the hearing aids on the previous platform, they could just be dipped into the charger to reboot, and then they could be reconnected to the fitting software. But however, now this new functionality is no longer available because the hearing aids are still on while they are in the charger, because now we can fit the hearing instruments also while they are charging. So in this situation where this would happen, it is possible to disconnect the hearing instrument from the fitting software, and we must put them in a hard reset mode. In order to activate the hard reset mode, just to press and hold down the push button for 30 seconds. Hold on 30 seconds, maybe check on your watch. It needs actually 30 seconds to reboot the hearing instrument completely. 15 seconds would not be sufficient, therefore take your time. After 30 seconds, the hearing instruments will be rebooted completely and you can start the fitting again. And don't worry, no data, whatever in the hearing instruments will be lost. So the main news which we have integrated in OasisNXT 2024.2, again in a short summary, we do have the new feedback manager. We have easier access to the REMFit measurement protocol. It's now possible to blur the background in remote fittings in your clinic. Call controls update. It's easier to find out how long the hearing aid user must press the buttons. And the configurable service check mode in the audible indicators can also be deactivated now. We know that Encanta is a very, very advanced hearing instrument and has the latest of Bluetooth technology. We also know that high quality connectivity is so important to our clients. And with the new Encanta hearing aids, we are bringing even better connectivity, especially to those clients using Android devices. Encanta hearing aids are fully compatible with all LE Audio enabled Android phones. LE Audio is the latest technology from Bluetooth and provides advanced connectivity now for more hearing aid users with Android phone. Encanta will also be ready for the forthcoming Auracast broadcast audio standard. Once it will become available, for the time being, there are not so many Auracast systems available in public areas, but as soon as this market will expand, then we also know that Encanta is already prepared for it. Just again, a small summary or a small comparison between Bernafon, Bluetooth Low Energy technology and Bluetooth Classic. LE Audio is the latest Bluetooth technology which combines the benefits of Bluetooth Classic and the benefits of Bluetooth Low Energy. Bluetooth Classic allows for direct streaming and hands-free communication with both Apple and Android devices. However, the weakness of Bluetooth Classic is that it has a high power consumption during direct streaming. That's why we are still using Bluetooth Low Energy, because all Bernafon hearing aids use Bluetooth Low Energy, which provides also two-way streaming and hands-free communication with Apple devices, with the benefit in addition of this low power consumption. So which means the hearing aid user need less recharge of the hearing instruments when using Bluetooth Low Energy. However, with Bluetooth Low Energy, although we can provide direct one-way streaming with Android devices, two-way hands-free communication is still not possible with Android devices. Encanta are the first Bernafon hearing aids that are empowered with Bluetooth LE Audio and connect to all LE Audio enabled Android phones and devices. However, if your Encanta client do not have an LE Audio enabled phone, then currently, regrettably, it will not be able to access all the benefits of the Bluetooth LE Audio technology. In the summary, I will show you again where you can actually find out if the Android phone of your customer is LE Audio enabled or not. Streaming is important, and streaming will become even more important to our clients as time goes on. Therefore, it's very, very important for us that we continue to put focus on streaming and keep optimizing also in future. For this reason, we have an improvement. We have introduced a new dedicated path for streamed signals for Bernafon Encanta. Why a dedicated path? Previously, all inputs, which were not the microphone inputs, were grouped together under an auxiliary path. And this auxiliary path combined inputs from telecoil input, direct audio input, and wireless streaming. Now, mixing the auxiliary and stream signal with the microphone together could potentially mean that the streamed signal might be affected or interrupted when very loud sounds are picked up by the microphone. Consequently, the presence of these very loud sounds would attenuate the hearing aid gain, and it could also attenuate the level of the streamed signal. On rare occasions, this attenuation of the signal could potentially be heard or noticed by the hearing aid user. An example of a scenario where this could happen is that someone walking down a busy street while streaming some music. Then a very loud truck passes by. So by the adaptive noise reduction would actually attenuate the microphone input, and this could actually also decrease for a moment the loudness of the streamed signal. And to prevent this potential scenario, we have introduced this dedicated new streaming path. So with this dedicated streaming path, the signal gets its own amplification and compression and is processed totally separately for the microphone input. This means that now the gain for the stream signal will always be maintained. You may have heard or already read in OasisNXT that there is a new Encanta firmware update available. We generally always recommend that you do the hearing aid updates. Even if you have maybe still hearing aids in stock and there is a new upgrade available, do the upgrade with OasisNXT because usually there are a number of benefits available. The latest update of Encanta 1.10 actually offers the following benefits. First of all, you can use of this new dedicated streaming pathway for the streamed signal. And then you will have improved connectivity related to connection stability to both iPhone and Android phone. You know, this is one of our most important concern that we can stabilize the connectivity to Android phone and iPhones. And we have reached again an improvement with the new firmware update. Also, you can get optimized sound quality in phone calls, and you will also have the new tap functionality. And of course, you can also now benefit of the new Oasis features, which I have introduced. So you will have the faster measurement in the feedback manager. You will have the possibility to turn off the service check mode. Battery protection mode functionality is available. Then the detection of the hearing aid in the in-situ audiometry screen is now possible, and there is a faster saving functionality in the fitting sessions. So now also with this upgrade, the hearing aid data will be fitted faster in the hearing instruments. We are really proud that thanks to the new global training and marketing team, we have a lot of very, very interesting resources which help you so much in all respects. And we would like to review these resources. To help you getting started with Bernafon Encanta, we have a lot of marketing materials available. We have the Encanta brochures, we have the consumer brochures, we have family brochures, we have the counseling brochures, we have also the clinical evidence overview in case you would like to show your customers, your hearing care professional, the evidence which we have really achieved between the different Encanta levels. Then we have the great counseling tool. The counseling tool is such a nice counseling tool really for your customer to help him select the right hearing instrument for him. And in addition, actually, there is also a counseling tier of pad available where you can, flip off a paper and use this on the spot, sitting together in the customer and talking with him. We have also in-store posters and we have also in-store stickers. So as I mentioned before, we have a great package of materials available. I think already 3 times we introduced our guides for hand-free communication, which we have also available. But again, I would like to present them again for those who maybe have missed the previous 2 webinars about troubleshooting and basics in connectivity. So we do have the hands-free communication and hands-free guide with Bernafon hearing aid and Windows PCs. Then we do also have the guide for hands-free communication and direct streaming with Mac. And then we do have the great troubleshooting guide for hands-free communication and direct streaming on Android and PCs with LE Audio. So all these resources are really, really nice guides, which you can also forward to your hearing care professionals. And of course, our Bernafon website. We do have on the Bernafon website the compatibility guide. This is where you can search by phone and tablet, and we have a list of 3,500 phones and tablets there to see which phones are actually compatible with the Bernafon hearing instruments or not. You can also directly put in the hearing instrument your client wants to buy and the phone, the iPhone or Android device your client would like to buy, and then it will immediately indicate you, is it compatible, does it have LE Audio, or would you need any additional device to connect. So it's really, really great, this support compatibility guide, which you will find on our website. And then, of course, also on the YouTube channel, you will find a lot of great videos which can support you in many different tricky situations. So we have also recently introduced the counseling kit. We made a special webinar about the counseling kit. For those who could not participate in this webinar, I would like to introduce the different parts of this counseling kit to you again, because the counseling kit can really be used to help you to support your clients throughout their path to better hearing, even before they start having a hearing instrument, until actually they have received the instrument and adjusted their instrument. So what are the documents which we have? We have the first document, preparing clients for their visit. This is a document which you could send to your customer before the first visit, and then when he fills it out at home, carries it back to you. It's a great conversation starter, and also like expectation management for the first visit. Secondly, after you have done the audiogram and the client has been in your clinic for the first visit, he maybe has been confused and did not really understand what happens with his hearing. So this great brochure helps clients understand their hearing loss, explains in details what actually is the impact of his hearing loss. And then third, selecting the right solution. This is also a great tool which you can use when again your client sits with you at your desk and you are about selecting the right hearing instruments for him. We also do have a validating solution. This is a very nice overview which indicates the different situations where the different levels of Encanta are ideal for, and also here, after the hearing aid user has made his choice or is about making his choice, you can verify if the level of the hearing instrument he has selected really meets his daily challenges of his daily life. And then in the end, we still also have, after the hearing aid user has received the instrument, you made the first fit, we know exactly our job is not done. So then we also do have ensuring the best follow-up. Again, when the hearing aid user has received the hearing instrument, he starts using it, he gets more confidence, but maybe he still needs a bit more changes, a bit more fine-tuning. Maybe there are some situations where he still would like to hear better. Then also this last, ensuring the best follow-up visit, optimizing your client hearing experience is also a great tool. So we are really, really proud that we have this kind of support material which we can recommend to you.
Okay.
All right, Marielle. Let me see if some questions have coming in. I cannot see any from the chat from my side.
Yes, so there were no questions that came in while you were really enumerating all the great new updates with the software and connectivity. But maybe I can just add something with regards to rechargeability. So for long-term storage of the hearing aids, we recommend the client to charge 100%, then charge it every 6 months at least. And then for the hearing care professional, for you guys, charge it to 100% and activate battery protection mode. What about the Charger Plus? So what you can do is charge it to 100%, and theoretically, you don't have to charge it every 6 months. You can charge it every 12 months. But if you want to make things simpler, just charge it every 6 months too, to make sure that the battery is okay, because we still have that lithium-ion battery in the Charger Plus. So don't forget the Charger Plus, okay? Not just the hearing aids. But aside from that, we don't have any questions, Christina. So
Okay,
I'll just
excellent.
take control and move forward to the next slide. So this is the date for our last webinar, talking about the new evidence, showing the clear benefits of each technology level. And we also have a guest from headquarters. So if you can make it November 12th, please be there. You won't regret it. And then we also have a recorded webinar on using and troubleshooting Bernafon hearing aids and chargers in case you want a refresher on how to deal with these instruments when something goes wrong. And you know, guys, what to do next. Get your phones ready, open the camera app, because this is our second to last quiz. And you have a chance to win a great prize, as you can see in that picture there. So a few people asked me, why didn't I get my certificate? And the reason is because you didn't send me an email. So these are the steps to get a training certificate if you want to. Answer the quiz. You should get at least more than half correct. I answered the quiz. It took me 5 minutes. Well, of course, I also made the quiz. But I promise you guys, it's very straightforward. It's very easy, and you will get to review the concepts that we learned today. And then the second step is after you finish the quiz, you got at least 60% correct, send us an email at bernexportnews@dman.com. Write your complete name and which webinar you attended, because of course I need to know that detail. So no email, no certificate, guys. Okay, I'm gonna repeat it again and again. So yeah, I'll leave the slide on for the next few minutes so you can take your time. Yeah, and with that, today ends the updates for Encanta. As always, I thank you for taking your time out of your busy schedule. It's been a pleasure. Christina, would you like to say something?
Yes, I just saw a question was coming in, but it was just thank you, ladies. So thanks to all of you for being always with us. And it's always see the great number of participants, and we know those who cannot participate. I hear from many that they listen to the recordings later on. So again, if once you cannot participate, it's always important that you register, because then we know that we can also distribute the materials and the recordings. Yep.
Thank you so much,
Otherwise,
Christina.
nothing more from my side.
Thank you, Christina. So, see you guys soon again for the last webinar next month, okay? Guys, be there or be square.
Last webinar this year.
Exactly. All right.
All right.
Ciao.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.